For the third time in their time as a tag team, the Kabuki Warriors are once again WWE Women's Tag Team Champions by defeating Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss this past Monday on Raw, all thanks to the assistance of Nia Jax and Lash Legend. I find it's kind of crazy, right? I find it very, very crazy that out of all the tag teams that have won the women's tag team titles, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are the only. They're the only team. Excuse me. That has never gotten injured or had ever turned on each other during their reign as tag team champions, and their reign started at SummerSlam earlier this year, back in August. And it's crazy because when it comes to Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, they're the type of superstars that would never be in a tag team unless it benefited them as a solo as a solo competitor. But this actually worked out. Charlotte Flair has now become probably one of the biggest baby faces in the entire women's division on SmackDown, aside from like what, maybe Tiffany Stratton, but that's about it. That's about it. However, obviously Alexa Bliss was no stranger to the women's tag team division, as she had won the tag team titles on numerous occasions with various superstars such as Nikki Cross, and of course, you guessed it, Asuka. Excuse me. And ironically enough, Charlotte Flair once became tag team champions with Asuka during the pandemic, which is very, very ironic. But now that the Kabuki Warriors are once again tag team champions, who will step up to the champions as we draw closer and closer to War Games? Because we now know that the sides, it is a stacked War Games match on the women's side. You have Nia Jax, you've got Asuka, you've got Kairi, and of course you have Lash Legend on one team, and on the other side you've got Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky, all former world champions in WWE. There is still one member from each team left that has yet to be named, but who will step up to the Kabuki Warriors for those tag team titles? Honestly, you have a long plethora of you have a long plethora of talent from all four brands, literally Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Evolve, that would be more than happy to take up that challenge for the tag team titles. You've got guys, you've got superstars like, if I can scroll down a little bit here, you've got tag teams like the Judgment Day. You've got tag teams like like the team of Ren Sinclair and the Evolve Women's Champion Kendall Gray. You've got Kendall Gray and of course Carly Bright. You have you've got also the Colleen's Tatum Pax, the Colleen's Izzy Dame, and the NXT Women's Champion Tatum Paxley. You've got Zaruka. You've got Judgment Day, I mentioned. You've got Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. You've got the previous champions, Bliss and Flair. You've got Chelsea Green and her Secret Harvest. Um, there's obviously Nia Jax and Lash Legend. There's also Lyra Valkyria and Bailey, Maxi Dupree and Natalia. Um, you've got Fatal Influence. You've got Kiana James and Julia. You've got a lot. There's a lot of tag teams that would be more than happy to take up that challenge. But I think it basically just it only comes down to 4 teams, right? Which 4 teams are best suited to take up the challenge against the Kabuki Warriors for those tag team titles? And honestly, the teams are. I'm being real. If I'm being real with this one, the women's tag team division has become a bit scarce, I guess, if you will. And I feel like the only reason why that tag team wrestling in the women's division has become so popular nowadays, it's not because of the Judgment Day. It's because of the fact that Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss made it that way. They made it that all possible. Even in spite of the fact that Sasha Banks and Bayley are the first ever tag team champions, it was Bliss and Flair that re-elevated the women's tag team division to heights we never thought imaginable. But if it came down to 4 teams, I would have to say the Culling, the Judgment Day, the former champions, and I would probably say Lyra and Bayley. Now, Lyra and Bayley, because when you really look at their chemistry, they did pretty well. In fact, they actually went the distance in that tag team turmoil match earlier this year, days before WrestleMania, and unfortunately Bayley got injured on the night of WrestleMania night 1, and Bayley literally missed out on WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch came back the very next night. It all just blew up in Lyra's face as they lost the tag team titles once again back to the Judgment Day, which was not pretty, to say the very least. But over the last, I want to say over the last month, I want to say, Lyra and Bayley have really started to gel together. They've really started to gel once again as a tag team, and I can honestly say that duo might just be the team. Excuse me, to take down the Judgment Day and win the tag team titles. Now, as far as not Judgment Day, the Kabuki Warriors. Sorry, I am all out of sorts right now, so I do apologize. Speaking of the Judgment Day, yeah. Now, while it is true that yes, they did get their rematch later on, they completely fumbled. They dropped the ball. And think about this, right? All the members of the Judgment Day are no longer champions. The only person in the Judgment Day that is still champion is Dominic Mysterio, but he's no longer the Intercontinental Champion, as we now know that honor belongs to John Cena, a Grand Slam champion. Finally did it at the in the final stages of his retirement tour. I can honestly say that John Cena might end up walking into Saturday night's main event with the title, and he could potentially retire as champion. Because let's not forget, he still has 3 dates left. He has this coming Monday on Raw in New York City. He's got Survivor Series War Games in San Diego, and then of course you've got Washington D.C. at Saturday night's main event. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. Saturday night's main event. So going back to the Judgment Day, Dominic Mysterio, he still has the AAA Mega Championship, which he won from Vikingo back at Worlds Collide a couple of months ago, and if I do say so myself, he's become a very unique champion right now, because his reign has been very interesting, to say the very least. I mean, just pulling off the bullshit that Eddie Guerrero once pulled back in the day. That's pretty crazy. But I think if there was one thing that Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez could potentially that they could do to regain those tag team titles, it's to simply just make their way up. Obviously, yes, Raquel and Roxanne, they both want to become women's world champion, but when it comes down to it, there's still one other member of the Judgment Day that we would be remiss if we didn't mention her. Liv Morgan. Let's not forget, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez as a team, they have yet to receive their rematch for those tag team titles, because Roxanne Perez stepped in after Liv Morgan suffered a shoulder injury at the hands of Kairi Sane. So I think that definitely that evidence alone can definitely put the Judgment Day in line for a shot at those tag team titles. Now, as far as the former champions go, I mean, what can I say? I mean, they are owed a rematch for those tag team titles, and if they were to get a rematch sometime between tonight on SmackDown and sometime next week on SmackDown, like within that timeline, I can honestly say that we might end up seeing Io Sky and Rhea Ripley helping out Bliss and Flair regain those tag team titles, which I think is something that we are going to expect. But obviously, knowing Nia Jax and Lash Legend, they'll find some way to help ensure that Bliss and Flair lose those tag team titles. But only time will tell. As far as the culling goes, I mean, Tatum Paxley is riding a huge high right now. I mean, after winning the NXT Women's title from JC Jane at Halloween Havoc, and after, I wouldn't say successfully retaining the title against Lola Vice, but I'd say keeping the title by the skin of her teeth at the hands of Fatal Influence. I can honestly say that Tatum Paxley might end up having probably one of the shortest reigns as NXT Women's Champion ever, because let's not forget, Gold Rush is this coming Tuesday, and that is going to be the main event of night 1. Potentially going to be the main event of night 1 of Gold Rush, where Tatum Paxley will have to defend the title against JC Jane, but this is JC Jane's last one and only opportunity. After this, it's over. And I think at this point right now, for JC Jane, her time is up. I think it's time for her to get called up to the main roster, but it comes down to whether or not the WWE will have something for her for the long run. And it's possible, but we will have to wait and see. However, I will say that the culling they've really started to grow on the WWE universe, and they've wanted Tatum Paxley to become champion for a long time. Now that she's NXT Women's Champion, maybe it's time for both Izzy Dane and Tatum Paxley to bring more gold to the culling. Maybe go after the tag team titles. But if it came down to two, I would have to say the former champions and the culling. Here's the reason. As far as the Judgment Day goes, I've seen the posts on social media for the last couple weeks now, and I think it's time. I think at this stage right now, the Judgment Day has been around for almost 4 years, and there's like nothing. WWE has nothing for the Judgment Day. In fact, the moment Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio kicked Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley out of the Judgment Day last year in 2024, that was when we all knew it was going to be the end of the Judgment Day. And I think the only way for the Judgment Day to just truly go their separate ways is if Dominic Mysterio were to leave the Judgment Day, or if Finn Balor throws him out of the Judgment Day. It's one or the other. But I think it's time for the Judgment Day to just go their separate ways. Have Raquel and Roxanne go their separate ways. Maybe see Roxanne go over to SmackDown, which honestly, she's better suited on SmackDown than she would be on Raw, because on SmackDown she'll have a much more better chance of being a singles champion than she would on Raw, because of the fact that Stephanie Vaquer is champion, Nikki Bella wants the title, and Naomi is going to be coming back within the next, I want to say the next what 6-7 months potentially. So within that time, the moment Naomi returns, you know damn well Naomi's going to be going after Stephanie Vaquer and the Women's World title, or whoever holds the title when she does return. So I think for the Judgment Day, I think it's over. I think it's time for the Judgment Day to just go their separate ways and just do their own thing as solo acts. Especially Finn Balor. I think it's time for Finn Balor to turn babyface, because the Judgment Day it's just old. It's just getting old. It's getting stale, and we need something fresh. We need a fresh heel faction to completely take over WWE, and I don't think it's going to be the Vision. If anything, I think it's going to be the MFTs over on SmackDown. But as far as Bayley and Lyra, I mean, there's really no telling what to expect with those two. We don't know if Bayley's going to be all cheer, all smiles and laughter, or if she's gonna be the old serious Bayley that had a historic run as SmackDown Women's Champion. No one knows, but at this point, I don't think they're gonna be going after the tag team titles anytime soon. But that brings us again to the final two: the culling or the former champions. I mean, to be fair, the culling has really molded themselves as a potential babyface faction, because even Shawn Spears admitted that he was content dropping the NXT North American title, making that the only championship he would ever win in WWE before he retires. And we found out on social media, speaking of retirement, we found out that JDC, also known as Fandango in WWE, is going to be retiring after I think TNA Genesis, in January. So it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long. But I will say that the culling with Tatum Paxley as the NXT Women's Champion, they have now become arguably one of the most dangerous factions in NXT aside from Dark State. Aside from Dark State, the culling are literally making their way up to main event status, and we could see them all on the main roster sooner than later. But I think because that Tatum Paxley is more focused on the NXT Women's title, I don't think now is the time for them to go after those tag team titles. So if it came down to one team, it would have to be the former champions Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, because I feel like they can still do a lot more with those tag team titles than we had ever expected. But with that being said, that'll do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.